Hi everyone! Have you ever heard poetry? And do you know poetry have element and genre? Now, me and my friends will describe about genre and elements. Let's get started! Before we start our lesson today, let me introduce my member group. First, there are Isti Hastuti, Aprilianingtyas Putri Dea Aulia, and me, Neovania K.
Part A. Gendre of the poetry. What is genre of the poetry? According to C. Clay, genre is a type or class which includes literary works. Meanwhile, history shows that genre is a category or class of art business that has a special form, technique, or content. Hasanuddin states that poetry is a broad, imaginative expression of feelings that is still abstract and concreted to concreteness, even that already it lies in the poet's mind and feelings. And poetry is the means. According to Aulia, poetry is a form of literary works that expresses the thoughts and feelings of the poet imaginatively and is composed by concentrating on the power of language by concentrating its spatial structure and inner structure. So, from the statements of experts, it can be concluded that the genre of poetry is the one type of literary work whose language style is largely determined by rhythm, rhyme, and the arrangement of lines and stanzas.
Type of poetry genres. Number 1. Ballad. Ballads of poetry are a type of narrative verse with some consisting of quatrains and other consisting of couplets. Ballads have a few different elements. Number 2. Love poetry. Love poetry is the poetry of the Romantic era, an artistic, literary, musical, and intellectual movement that originated in Europe towards the end of the 19th century. Number 3. Narrative poetry. Narrative poetry is a genre of poetry that tells a story. Broadly, it such as epic poetry, but the term narrative poetry is often reserved for smaller works, generally with more appeal to human interest. Narrative poetry may be the oldest type of poetry. Number 4. Epic poetry. Epic poetry is a long narrative form that tells a heroic story and is usually performed by more than human characters. Elements of poetry. The word elements come from the Latin word elementum, which is meant the basic part that underlines something. While the poetry is a type of literary work whose language style is largely determined by rhythm, rhyme, and arrangement of lines and stanzas. Poetry is a form of literary work that has the art of language, which contains aesthetic meaning. It's commonly written, read, and listened to. Kind of language, its poetry is more intense than ordinary language. Poetry may be different interpretation of what its reader about writer means. To make a perception of poetry, the reader must understand some imagery of poetry. Number 1. Alliteration is a repetition of the same consonant sound in a sequence of words, usually at the beginning of word or stressed syllable.
Number 2. Assonance is the repetition of similar internal vowel sound in a sentence or a line of poetry, as in I rose and told him of my woe. Number 3. Figurative language is a form of language use in which the writer and speaker mean something other than the literal meaning of their word. Number 4. Imagery is the concrete representation of a sense, impression, feeling, or idea that triggers or imaginative enhancement of a sensory experience.
Number 5. Rhyme is the repetition of identical or similar concluding syllables in different words, most often at the ends of lines. Number 6. Rhythm is the term used to refer to the recurrence of stressed and undistressed sounds in the poetry. Number 7. Stanza is a grouping of lines set off by a space, which usually has a set pattern of the meter and rhyme.
Number 8. tone conveys the speaker's implied attitude toward the poem's subject. The tone is an abstraction we make from the details of a poem language.
Conclusions. The conclusion is that genres and elements of poetry can be categorized as works of art, music, or literature that are characterized by a certain style, form, or content. While poetry is a type of literary work whose language style is largely determined by rhythm and rhyme, line and stanza arrangement, poetry is often considered its distinct genre and subgenre. The genre of poetry is generally a tradition or classification of poetry based on subject matter, style, or other broader literary characteristics. Poetry is also a form of literary work that has language art that contain aesthetic meaning. It is usually written, read, and listened to. But poetry is more intense than ordinary language. Poetry may have different interpretations of what each reader means. However, to make a perception of poetry, the reader must understand some of the imagery of the poem. It can be its quality, and usually the words used in poetry are words that have general meaning, so that the reader must understand and know the words.